Welcome to another episode of Asexualized, My Asexual Life. This is a place to be for education about asexuality, all things asexual, and I share my own asexual life journey in order to help you in yours. If you haven't already subscribed to this channel, please hit the great big subscribe button down below. Please hit that bell icon to get notified of every time I go live like now or post a new video. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up as we go along if you're enjoying the content. If you don't know who I am Sandra Bellamy, author of Asexual Perspectives, 47 asexual stories, love, life and sex, a celebration of asexual diversity. And I'm also the founder of asexualise.com and the founder of Asexualise Academy. So in today's episode, I want to talk to you about when people say, don't label yourself, you have to be very, very careful. And here's why. So to give you some context, when asexuals are discovering themselves, when they're finding about themselves or within the asexual community, some people are saying it's okay to not label yourself. In actual fact, some people are promoting not to label yourself because they're saying that if you label yourself, you're putting yourself in a box that you might not be able to live up to. First of all, you have a basic human right, like everyone does, to change your mind on something. So if something no longer works for you, something's no longer right for you, you have the right to say no and to change your mind. This includes in a relationship. So for example, if you were in a relationship with a sexual person and they wanted to have sex with you and you wanted it at that moment, but then you didn't want it another time, you have perfect rights to say no. You have perfect rights to change your mind about anything. I know people who have, I know one woman and she went from being a lesbian to being in a relationship and married to a guy with a kid. So, sometimes people's sexuality does change. So even if you give yourself a label, you can actually change it. Obviously, don't give yourself labels just for the sake of it, because that isn't going to do you any good or other people that are trying to get to know you. You have to be honest about it. But be very careful of this. So some people who aren't asexual will tell you, don't label yourself, right? And that feels good to some people, right? Because you feel like this is great. It takes the pressure off. I'm okay. No, I think I might be this. I don't need to say anything, right? And that is great. I get that you don't want to feel any pressure and you shouldn't feel pressure. You should only identify as asexual when you feel comfortable with it. That's the whole point. Don't, research about it, learn about it, and don't use it unless you feel it really belongs to you. There's no point in doing that. It's better to find out first. But there are some people that are not asexual who will say to asexuals who are chatting to them, like they might be friends with them, saying, oh, don't label yourself. And the reason they say this is because they are afraid of you giving yourself the asexual label. I'll repeat that. They are afraid of you giving them the asexual label, that you are asexual. So they're afraid of you telling them you're asexual. Not you giving them the asexual label, as in they're asexual, but they are afraid of you giving them the fact that you're asexual. And the reason they're afraid of this is because they don't understand asexuality and they're scared because they don't relate to it and they don't possibly want you to acknowledge your own sexuality because it makes them uncomfortable. Like my best friend, I talk about a lot on this channel, and she's lovely and I adore her. She's an ultimate best friend for life. She's very beautiful. I get on really well with her. We're quite the same in some ways, quite different in others, and I would never be without her in my life. But she finds it difficult, I can tell, the fact that I'm asexual, because I talk about asexuals and that I'm asexual, and she'd go, well, I don't label things, and it's like, I don't label myself, I don't label things, but, she's heterosexual. someone's asking her what a sexuality is, she definitely say heterosexual, And what she says to me is, I don't label myself, because she is uncomfortable with me calling myself asexual. I know, because when I talk about it with her, sometimes I can tell, I can just see by her body language, the way she wants to change the subject, that she's not comfortable about talking about asexuality. Maybe she doesn't believe it's a genuine thing. Maybe she doesn't understand it. However much I say it to her, you can't make someone understand asexuality if they don't. You can't push it on them. You can just keep talking to them about it and explaining your situation. And if they don't get it, they don't get it. If they're not trying to change you in any way, that's fine. So do you see what I mean? So be very careful when some people say to you, don't label yourself, because they're not necessarily saying it for your benefit to take the pressure off you. They're saying it because they're uncomfortable with it and they can't deal with the fact of you being asexual and being out and proud about it. So so my best friend, sometimes she'll say, well, I can't just have sex with a guy. There's plenty of guys on dating sites and I get fed up with the dick pics and stuff like that. So all they want to do is have sex. But just because she has that attitude, which is great, it's not the same thing as being asexual. And she'll have moments where saying, well, I don't label myself, I like, some sensual touching, I don't just like to have sex. But then on the other hand, sometimes she'll say, well, if I'm feeling passionate, I just want to get on with it. So she's heterosexual, and I love her as she is. And I'm quite happy that she's heterosexual and that, she enjoys sex. It's great for her. But do you see what I mean? She is uncomfortable. She's got better because she's not as uncomfortable when I talk about it. But I can't change the way she is. If she's uncomfortable with it, she's uncomfortable with it. But I'm still going to talk about it because it's a huge part of my life, as you know. And it's a huge part of what I do. I'm always on this channel talking about asexuality. I'm on blogs. So when we have conversations, of course, part of that conversation I'm having, whether it's going to be about what I've done asexual-wise, Sometimes you're like, oh, I've already read this or seen it on your Facebook. But you know what I mean? I do talk about it because I'm comfortable with it. And I'm actually one of those people who's comfortable labelling themselves. Years ago, when I first got told about asexuality, I didn't even look it up. Like, I don't know if you've seen a previous video of mine where years and years ago, there was this, before I found out I was asexual, I found out I was asexual in 2014. But before that, there was, way before that, years ago, there was a blogger who used to talk about sex, but in an educational way. And he suggested that I was asexual because I said, I don't like, I don't need sex. I don't like sex in a relationship. And he was like, oh, well, that's asexual. And I said, well, no, I just don't associate sex with love. And I never have done. And I love kissing and cuddling. And he was like, okay. And I never even Googled it. It just seemed a really weird word to me because it got the word sexual in it, even though it's asexual. And I just thought this word, I felt like it was a weird word. I didn't even want to look it up. It just I was straight away, I was instant reaction like that, no. So I do understand where some sexuals are coming from, where they don't like the word because it's alien to them. It was alien to me years ago. So I do understand where they're coming from. But like I said, be very careful because if people say don't label yourself, hiya, nice to see you. If people say don't label yourself, it's not necessarily for your own good. Sometimes it's because they simply cannot be comfortable with the fact you're asexual and they don't want you to label yourself because they don't want you to label yourself because if you label yourself as asexual, they have to deal with the fact that you are an asexual person then. And if it doesn't fit in with their norms, if it doesn't fit in with their social circles, if it doesn't fit in with their life, they can find it very uncomfortable and hard to deal with. So don't think for 1 minute, just because people say don't label yourself, that it's having your best interests at heart, because not always it is. I'm not saying it isn't sometimes in your best interest, but sometimes it really isn't in your best interest. It's just because they can't deal with it. So when you feel ready and confident and comfortable that you are asexual, then you should come out as asexual. And if you want to label yourself within asexuality, it's a very good thing. Now, like I said, some people see it as a bad thing because they think if you just label yourself, then you can't go back and change your mind, which is not true. From if you've read my Asexual Perspectives book, one of the biggest revelations I had in there with what people's answers was, is that sexuality is fluid. I personally don't think that way. It's not something I've thought about. I personally think you're either one or the other, but I do know people can change, and I do accept the fact that people can change, but I for me, the word fluid is too loose. It's more like, you know, fluid is like water, like you can change in a heartbeat. And that's why I don't personally like that word, because I'm uncomfortable with it. You know, even though people in my Asexual Perspectives book, the conclusion is, which I was shocked by, that the majority of people in my book think sexuality is fluid. And so obviously, you know, I can't say they're wrong, but I'm not comfortable personally saying that. But I'm equally comfortable in saying that if someone, like, you know, 5 years down the line then figures out I'm not this person I thought I was and changes it, then that's their prerogative, and that's fine. Just for me, the word fluid is like you can change it at a drop of a hat, and I think there's a lot of people coming into the asexual scene who seem to think they want to put the asexual label on themselves without actually, you know, discovering about asexuality. So you've got the other scenario where some people are purposely saying they're asexual when they don't have a clue what it is. They're abstaining, or they're going out sex for 5 months because they can't have a boyfriend or girlfriend. Do you see what I mean? So be very, very careful, you know. Use the label asexual if it does fit you and feels right, and when it feels comfortable to you, because you've got to be comfortable and confident with who you are, you know. And also, like I was explaining in another video, if you are on asexual dating sites, labeling yourself is not just for your benefit, it's for the benefit of the other people who you may want to be in a relationship with. Obviously, if you don't want to be in a relationship, then it doesn't really matter, does it? Because it doesn't matter what your sexuality is, it doesn't matter what your sexual orientation is, it doesn't matter what part of the asexual spectrum you are, to be quite honest with you. But if you are looking for a relationship, so if you're on asexual dating sites, then yes, labeling yourself is very important, because it shows people how you might fit together. I Skyped one of my asexual friends today. I haven't Skyped him in a very long time. Well, I haven't Skyped him at all, actually. I mean, I messaged him the other day when we connected on Skype. This was the very first time we'd Skyped each other. And, but I knew him for quite a long time on Twitter, but we never actually got started to talk a lot until it was on ASAP, which is the asexual dating app. If you haven't already downloaded it to your iPhone or Android, look for it on your store. And so, yeah, and so I Skyped this guy who's my asexual friend for the very first time today. He lives in Canada. He is foreign. He's aesthetically very beautiful, because obviously, you know, I like foreign guys. He's got coloured skin, and he had the clothes I like as well. So I was clothes attracted to him. I'm like, you got lovely clothes. But he's just my friend. But I said to him, I said, you're on ASAP. I said, do you realise, I said, I thought that you were demisexual, the grey asexual end of the spectrum. He goes, yeah, I am. I said, but you've got grey romantic on your profile on ASAP. He's like, have I? I said, yeah, because demi-romantic is on the aromantic spectrum. Like the aromantic spectrum and the romantic demisexuals are like the opposite end of the spectrum. You can get aromantic demisexuals though, so don't think you can't. So you can be demisexual, but and you can be aromantic at the same time, so that you don't experience romantic attraction and you only experience sexual attraction once a strong emotional bond has been formed. So you can do that. But, you know, that being demisexual and grey, if you're grey asexual and you're not aromantic, it's very, very different. Do you know what I mean? Because you are more of the sexual end of the spectrum. So you'll be wanting different things in a relationship to a demi-romantic who doesn't experience romantic attraction unless a strong emotional bond has been formed. And I didn't get the second notification. That's all right, Michael, don't worry. Yeah, I keep having problems with my iPad. I updated the software the other day, so I don't know if it needs another update. Can you put those words together is a joke. A beautiful Canadian. Can you put those two words together is a joke. Yeah, he is a beautiful Canadian, actually. So when he put demi-romantic in his profile, and I knew that because he's in my asexual dating groups, I said, I think you're demisexual on the grey asexual spectrum. He's going, yeah, I am. So he's still like, with demisexual, he still needs to form a strong emotional bond before he can feel sexually attracted. And, you know, he might still be demi-romantic, but demi-romantic only feels romance when they've formed a strong emotional bond. But he put grey romantic on his profile, which a grey romantic is someone who only experiences romantic attraction infrequently or very rare, limited or specific circumstances. So a grey romantic is different to a demi-romantic. So a demi-romantic will be like very, very romantic, like a normal romantic person, if you like, once that strong emotional bond has been formed. So someone could be demi-romantic and demisexual. Like they need the strong emotional bond to be formed before they can feel romance, and they need the strong emotional connection before they can feel sexual attraction. So you can put different labels together to make, you know, your whole identity up. But someone who's just grey romantic, they feel, you know, they only feel romance. Hi, Heather. They only feel romance under limited, rare or specific circumstances, or not enough to want to act on it. So a grey romantic is on the aromantic spectrum, and pretty much they won't want to be romantic in a romantic relationship unless they're cupio-romantic. A cupio-romantic is someone who wants to be in a romantic relationship despite the fact they're not romantic themselves. So you see, it's really important to, if you are going to label yourself, that you do get the label correct, because otherwise, if people are interested in you in a potential relationship with you, say they're on asexual dating sites, then, you know, they're not going to have a good idea of what type of person you're like in terms of feelings and emotions if you don't put the right label on there. But you guys missed a whole ton of stuff, because I was basically, you'll have to go back and watch this video, but basically the whole point of the video is sometimes people who say that, well, I can quickly summarise it up because I've pretty much done the video, but what happens is people who say don't label yourselves, sometimes they're not doing it for your own good. So whereas a lot of asexuals, they love the fact that people say don't label yourself because they're feeling the pressures off them, it's great. There's also a not so good side is some people are saying don't label yourself as asexual because they are uncomfortable with it themselves and they cannot deal with it. They cannot deal with you being asexual. Therefore, they're happy that you don't label yourself because it makes them feel uncomfortable, because they're not comfortable with the concept of asexuality because it's alien to them. It's something they can't relate to. So be very wary why a person's saying to you, oh, it's fine, you don't have to label yourself, because would they say that if it was a heterosexual person? Sorry about that. I was waiting for the second notification. After nothing came through, I went to your channel directly. Oh, thank you, Michael. Yeah, if it's stopped suddenly, I usually just start to record again. Like, it used to take 3 attempts, and then I upgraded the software again, and it takes 2. I don't know why it keeps doing it. I think it's just because my iPad's getting older now. And my Wi-Fi's not great in my flat either. So, but yeah, this is basically what the whole point of the video is about, though, is, you know, you've got to understand that some people's reasoning behind why they're telling you things is not necessarily for your own benefit. So, you know, it's up to you at the end of the day where you label yourself. But like I said, the argument for why they're saying don't label yourself is, one, is to take the pressure off you, which is kind of a good reason. But 2 is because they can't deal with it themselves. And you have the right to change your mind about anything. So even if you do label yourself for a time, once you've done your research and think it fits you and you're confident that that label fits you, then you can actually, you know, change it if you need to. So 3 years later, if for example, you know, I did this video a few days ago about, you know, can people become demisexual? Then yeah, there are some asexuals that, you know, they might have this one friend that they've been friends with for like 2 years, and that all of a sudden they experience sexual attraction. I mean, and then they realise they're demisexual and they've only experienced it with that one person. And so they have the right then to change their mind and say, hey, I'm actually demisexual, didn't realise it, so I'm changing the way I label myself or what I call myself. So it's perfectly fine to do that. Just because you do put a label on yourself, or you don't put, you know, if you do put a label on yourself, it doesn't mean to say you can't change your mind. It doesn't mean to say you're fixed, because the argument for why you shouldn't label yourself is it's putting you in a box and it's making you fixed. But we don't have this argument, do we, with heterosexuals? No one says to a heterosexual, well, you shouldn't call yourself heterosexual because you could change your mind in 5 months' time, you know, and you could change your mind in a year's time. So don't label yourself as heterosexual. No, no, no. Best not to put yourself in a box. You don't want that pressure. Do you see what I mean? No people speak to heterosexuals like that. The only reason they're speaking to us like that is because our sexuality is asexual, and people are not used to that. They're not comfortable with that. That's one major reason why they're saying it to you. So yes, I agree with you not putting a label on if you're not comfortable with it. If you don't want to put a label on yourself, if you don't like to do that, that's your prerogative. But please don't think that every single person that's telling you don't put a label on yourself is doing it for your own good. Because I personally like to label myself. It is, however, difficult because I don't totally fit completely into every single particle of like asexuality. So like, for example, I label myself as a heteromantic, hyperromantic, grey A asexual younger cougar who doesn't like sexuous kissing. Now, I'm not a textbook grey A, so many people think I shouldn't be calling myself grey A at all because I don't experience sexual attraction whatsoever, not under limited, rare or specific circumstances. So it's different. Oh, heterosexuality is also a spectrum. Yes, Ivan, heterosexuality is also a spectrum. But how many people actually talk about that? How many people actually say, okay, so which part of the heterosexual spectrum are you on? They don't, because most people don't realise the heterosexuality is a spectrum either. They know there's different types of heterosexuals. They know that people like have different preferences, but no one realises it's a spectrum. And where the demisexual spectrum ends as part of the asexual spectrum ending, if you like, is when the sexual spectrum starts. And obviously some people might want sex a couple of times a week, some people might want it a few months, some people might want it several times a day. So heterosexuals, for example, or homosexuals, bisexuals, pansexuals, they all have their own type of sexuality within that. They all have their own needs, but you've got to be careful as to what is to do with the actual sexuality and what's to do with just different preferences within that sexuality, like different sexual preferences that sexuals have. Like, I thankfully was never ever with a person in the past, my heterosexual exes, none of them were into BDSM. I mean, I couldn't have stood that if they were, but a proportion of heterosexuals are into BDSM. I would literally have run a mile if my ex had started doing anything like that. I'm thankful and grateful that even though my last ex, he was very exploratory in positions and stuff like that, just let him get on with it, that he didn't actually, ever imply any tying up, any handcuffs, anything like that, because I would literally have scared me witless. I cannot stand the concept of pain and pleasure through pain in that way, and being tied up. Personally, I don't agree with it, but I know there's a lot of asexuals that do still do that, and fine, if you want to do that, that's your call. Just that I personally would run a mile from that. So heterosexuality is a spectrum, but people don't necessarily know that. And if you don't want to label yourself, that's your prerogative. But I just wanted to make this video to make it clear. And I referenced my friend earlier. You have to watch the rest of the video to understand that my best friend, even, I know she's uncomfortable. So when I talk about asexuality, she's like, oh, well, I don't label myself, but she is heterosexual. Hi, Florina. So, so it's because she's not comfortable with it. But she's got better, but I know she's not comfortable with it, even though she accepts that I talk about it. Do you see what I mean? So you have to be very knowledgeable and aware that people aren't necessarily saying it for your benefit. It's because they are uncomfortable with asexuality, and it's your prerogative, if you want to label yourself, to call yourself asexual, and it's your prerogative to do the research and find out if you are. And I don't want you to think if you label yourself that you cannot change ever, because everyone has the right to change their mind. Everyone has a right in life, like as part of your basic human rights, to change your mind about stuff. I don't think you should, some people use asexuality as just the fact they're not having sex for a year or something. That isn't the right thing to do, labeling yourself asexual, because it doesn't mean to say you're asexual. It just means you're not doing it for like a year or whatever, for whatever reason. But if you're confident that being asexual because you don't experience sexual attraction, or you have little to no interest in sexual activities, you don't really interest in sex, you're not bothered about it anymore, if that fits you, then use the label. But there are obviously lots of sub-labels within it. And like I said, if you're not looking for a relationship of the romantic nature, or even platonic, you're not looking for a relationship full stop other than friends, then it doesn't really matter how you label yourself, because friends is friends. But if you are looking for a queer platonic relationship, for example, or a platonic relationship, or being in a relationship with someone that's a bit more than a friendship, or obviously you're looking for a romantic relationship, then yes, labeling is good to help them out. Because if you're on asexual dating sites, because Ivan, you were asking about asexual dating sites, I did post the link at asexuality.com. The video you commented on before, I did actually post a link down below just before I went live. This says about that site. There's also ace-book.net's another one. So if you're going on these sites, then yeah, I think labelling's good because it helps other people out. Because if you're looking to date, you need to be able to explain to someone, you know, like how you feel. Like, and if you don't want to give yourself a label, at least give people the opportunity of getting to know exactly what you like and don't like. Don't be vague with them and say, well, I don't give labels, that's it. Because that is not, they can't get that deep emotional connection with you if you're standoffish like that, you know. If you say, you know, I'm confused about my sexuality, but this is what I like sexually, this is what I don't like, this is what I feel, this is what I think, then that's great. But make it clear, you know, if you don't want to use labels, you're on an asexual dating site, make it clear that the person can talk to you in a message and you can explain it all there for them. But it's just a very good way of people quickly being able to scan through people's profiles. Like if someone says they're homo-romantic, I know they're into guys. Or if they're a guy, or if they're women, they're into women. I don't look at women though, but you know, if they're guys, they're homo-romantic. I know they're into guys. If they didn't label themselves that, I would have to go through every single profile going, hey, are you into guys, or are you into girls, or are you into both? Do you see what I mean? It's like if you go to a supermarket and you have labels on anything, you don't know what anything is. You don't know if it's appropriate for your needs. You don't know if you want it, if you like it. You don't get it if all the tins in the supermarket were just you know, they were just a tin with no labels. I mean, how would you know what was right for you? How would you know what you wanted? How would you know what would satisfy your appetite? How would you know what you'd like to eat? How would you know what was behind it? You know, if you're a vegetarian and there's meat in a tin, how would you know if there's no label on it? Do you see what I mean? It's the same sort of thing in life. If you don't like give yourself some sort of identity for people to go by, if you're seeking out certain things like a relationship, for example, then how is anyone supposed to understand you straight off the bat? If I get attracted to younger foreign guys, as you know, and I look at a lot of their profiles, and a lot of them are homo-romantic, you know, they're into guys. There's no point in me wasting my time messaging those people if they're interested and attracted to guys, is there? And I'm female, there's no point. But if they didn't put that on their profile and just put nothing, it means I've come to a great revelation. I'm going to die rich in my own animal shelter that has a lot of everything animal related. Oh, Michael, that's a lovely one. Do you like animals then? I didn't know you had animals, Michael. Well, when I'm rich, I will probably have loads of guinea pigs again. That's why I said to myself, I said, Sandra, you can't have any more guinea pigs at the moment. You've got Angel at your parents'. For now, you need to get your finances together this year and get your businesses together, like not just asexuality, but other stuff, and sort your finances out, and then you can have as many guinea pigs as you want. So yeah, Florina is another Michael. Oh. If they are, then just get rid of them. Because I don't know what's going on. Florina, are you not really a Florina then? So if, you know, Michael's an admin now, so he moderator for me, so he can do what he wants. Read up. So Florina, are you not really who you say you are? Is that what you're trying to tell me? That you're coming on this channel and you're saying that you're not another Michael? I don't understand what you're saying, but if you're impersonating someone, then obviously that's not good. I didn't say anything about an animal shelter. Read the chat again, I was myself. Okay. Florina. Right, okay. So someone obviously likes playing games on this channel with people's profiles then. So I can't see the chat until I go off the screen, so I'll look at the chat again. So you called Farina Michael. I called Farina Michael. Oh, dearie me, this is getting very confusing. I asked, basically, so Farina came to a... No, you read my name wrong. I wrote the animal shelter joke. Oh, right, okay. So Farina... Right, okay. So you wrote the animal shelter joke. Michael didn't write it. I got confused. I think it's better if you see the video. Yeah, okay, that's fine. So Farina's Farina, Michael's Michael, and there's no more confusion. I mistook you for Michael. Oh, right, okay. Sorry, Farina, then I apologise to you. Sorry. It's getting so confusing because obviously I've had a lot of trolls on this channel lately who keep taking Michael's identity. So I read it wrong because it flashed up. Because when I get these chat messages, they literally flash up on my screen. I have to read them really quickly. So I apologise. So Farina, no problem. Sorry as well. It's okay to be paranoid. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not exactly paranoid entirely. I just are not, you know, it's just very confusing. Got nothing against Michael, love. Brilliant. That's great. Thank you. So, yeah, that's brilliant. Misunderstanding. Okay, we've sorted that out now. Yeah. Right, okay, so basically I said Farina said something, Michael said something, it was Farina. I apologise if I got that wrong. I do apologise, yeah. It just looked like that when it was coming up on my screen. But it must be because you both messaged at the same time maybe and I saw the wrong person. So yeah, I do apologise for that. So yeah, hopefully we've got the trolls off here now because Michael is a moderator. So obviously, I don't know if you guys know that, Ivan, Heather, Farina, Michael is now a moderator. So he's got a blue spanner. So that's the real Michael. So if there's anyone who writes stuff, every time I come here, I mess up your live stream. I'm so sorry. Yeah, I was going to end soon as well. It's a funny coincidence that this misunderstanding happened after the whole impersonation incidents. Yeah. Yeah, it's a funny coincidence. Yeah. So basically, yeah, so anyway, Michael's now a moderator. So if he does find out that anyone does impersonate him, he will just literally delete the comments and get rid of them off this channel. So if you haven't heard that Michael's a moderator, he is now. He's the real Michael because I speak to him off this site on another site. So I know it's really him. So anyone else, you know, that I will, you know, well, Michael will get them off basically. So there should be no more trolls, hopefully. So, because it's not nice, you know, and it goes back to the whole thing that people aren't comfortable about asexuality and they want to try and do anything to stop me speaking out about it, and they want to do everything they can to make guys very stereotypically sexual. I mean, one of the reasons why they probably have picked on Michael in the past is because he's not a stereotypical sexual guy, because he's asexual and aromantic, and guys who are not asexual can't deal with that a lot, you know. So I'm sorry to Michael, but I'm really happy that he's a moderator now, so he's got a lot more. So it's better to have Michael as a friend. Yeah, Michael's a great friend. I love Michael as my friend. He's amazing. He's absolutely incredible guy. He's one of the best guys I know, you know. So yeah, Michael's an aromantic asexual, so he lacks romantic attraction and he lacks sexual attraction, and he's a really, really lovely guy. He's very intelligent, very good at what he does. And so, you know, he's got a lot of special qualities and really nice person. And I think a lot of trolls come on here, one, because they want to shut me up talking about asexuality, because they'd rather not know about it. They'd rather pretend it didn't exist. They rather, like, they want to talk sexually to me to just annoy me. And then the second is because obviously Michael's different to other guys. That's why they picked on him, you know, and that's what you find. Sorry for derailing your stream with that. It's all right, Michael. So, you know, that's what happens sometimes, is that, you know, some people come in and they like to, it's like being picked on at school and stuff, isn't it? Or bullied, you know, people bully people who are different. People pick on people who are different to themselves, and because they want to basically push all their own feelings, insecurities, problems, worries and issues on other people, which is coming back to actually the topic of this video, that some people will tell you not to label yourself. Exactly, Farina, I hated that in school as well. And some people will tell you not to label yourself as asexual because they're uncomfortable with it and they can't always befriended the outcast. Oh, I actually used to befriend people that were very different. The ones that even being one myself. Oh, bless you. Yeah. I used to be friends with people that were like class clowns and people like guys who weren't really you know, there was one guy at school called Martin. he wasn't very respected. People used to think he was a joke. But I used to have like a special bond with him, and he used to borrow like eraser from me, which is a rubber. But obviously rubber can mean condom, so I don't use that word. But you know, it's like in the title of this video, just to let you know, that's the British title of Lable. That the American title spelt differently, in case you were wondering that I got the spelling wrong. So you know, people will, if people are uncomfortable with labels, like you labeling yourself as asexual, then of course they will tell you not to do it, because it's in their interest for you not to do it, not for your interests. And so, you know, like I was saying, at school there was this guy Martin, and I used to be friends with him, you know, but it's like, you know, people bully people, or people tell them don't do something, and it can be quite psychological sometimes, and they're trying to manipulate you because they don't want you to be what you are, because they can't deal with it. So just look out for manipulators and people like this, you know. And it, you know, it's important to say what happened to Michael on this channel, which I was devastated about, because, you know, it just shows that people cannot accept people who are different to them. They don't want to accept it, and so they want to browbeat them down into being something they're not, because they're not comfortable with it and can't deal with it. And that's just their fears and their insecurities. It's got nothing to do with Michael. It's just them being an idiot, basically, and they can't handle it themselves. This is so shitty. I'm disgusted by humanity at times. Yeah, exactly. It's really disgusting. I had 3 of them at once come and do stuff, but now I've got Michael as a moderator, you know. They're not gonna, there was a person saying stuff yesterday, I don't know if, you know, that, not about him, but, you know, Michael just got rid of them, and that's why I'm really happy. Like, something good's come out of this, you know, in the fact that I have Michael as a moderator now, and this channel will hopefully get rid of those type of negative comments and those. I'm always much better to have mods. Yeah, it is, but obviously I didn't know if anyone wanted to be a mod, but it is really good, because Michael's a very good moderator. He won't accept rubbish, which I love about him, you know. He'll be like, no, get off, I'm not interested in that. And I really appreciate that, you know, because it helps me out. Yeah, Michael is definitely the best choice. He's very on the ball, very good at what he does. Plus, you know, he can get rid of anyone saying bad stuff about him. It's kind of like him being the warrior for this channel, you know. I'm the warrior, these people are out. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's really important. But yeah, always think about someone's motive behind why they're telling you stuff. Like, if some people, for example, who call you friends, are telling you you can't do certain things in life, it's not because you can't do them, it's because they don't want you to. And 1 is already quite enough for now, so it's pretty good. Out the toxicity. Yeah, exactly, it's good. 1 is much better. So yeah, so whatever you're doing in your life, just think about the motive for why someone's doing it, you know, for why someone's saying don't label yourself. You know, if it's for your own good, really, because, you know, they feel that you're so confused and worried you're freaking out about it, that's different. But, you know, some people will say that to you because they're not comfortable with it. And it's like, you know, they don't like, you know, some people won't like this channel because I'm speaking out about asexuality, and that makes them uncomfortable, but I'm still going to do it. And some people won't like this channel because I speak about asexuality and dating, and if they're not on the dating scene, they think that this channel isn't for them. But that's not actually true, because I do speak a lot about friendship relationships. Like I was talking tonight about when I Skyped a friend that that they are, you know, my friend is amazing. I Skyped him for the first time tonight, you know. It was an incredible experience. He lives in Canada, and he's a really nice guy, and it was like great, you know. Had the time of my life. Was Skyping for nearly 2 hours, and it was so nice to see him. And you know, it's just incredible. So you know, and he's a friend. So that when I do about relationships on this channel, yes, sometimes it's very geared towards romantic relationships. But if you look back at quite a lot of videos and you listen to them, you'll find out that I do make references to friendship relationships as well. Like, some of the stuff I say for romantic relationships, they equally apply to people who just looking for friendships as well. You know, some of the same dynamics, some of the same things you need to watch out for. You know, like there's, for example, there's videos on narcissists here, and you've got to be careful. That's a real, you know, if you come across someone who's narcissistic, that's really bad, and they will say things to make you feel bad so that you don't do what they don't want you to do. So, you know, that narcissists apply to whether you're dating, because the online dating scene is quite full of them, or whether you've got friends. You can have, you know, you can have people that come into your life that are very narcissistic, and they will try and manipulate you. into their way of thinking. They will say something to you that puts doubt in your mind that you're being a nice person and makes you feel like you're being horrible, when in actual fact you're not, but they make you think that. They twist your mind around. It's very, very strange. So anyway, I'm going to leave this video for now. Don't forget, if you want to label yourself, go ahead and do it for you, you know. And if someone's telling you not to label yourself, just think twice about why they're telling you that. Is it for your own good, or because they're simply not comfortable with it? And it could be your best friends that are not comfortable with it. So just be aware of that and be careful and do what feels good and right to you. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you like this channel and you haven't already subscribed, please hit the great big subscribe button down below, and hit that bell icon to get notified of every time I go live, like now, or post a new video. If I do go live briefly and go off again, it's because I've got some technical problems, and I usually come back on straight away, like 2 minutes later, so, or less. So thank you, Michael, so much for being moderator. Thank you so much, Florina. I do apologise once again for the mishap and the misunderstanding on my part. Thank you so much, Heather, and thank you, Ivan, for tuning in. I really appreciate you all. I really love you lots, and take care. Bye, Florina. Nice to see you. Thank you, Florina, for forgiving me. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye, Mike.